So the free will defense, this goes all the way back to Augustine in the 5th century, one of the great, maybe the greatest of the church fathers. And the idea is that God wanted there to be creatures with free will. He wanted to create creatures in his image. An important part of that image, one of several different parts of it, would be that human beings should be free to respond to God, but also free to reject God, free to do what is right, but also free to do what is wrong. And so God can, of course, make free creatures, but he can't make free creatures and also cause them to do only what is right. If he does that, if he does cause them to do only what is right, then they don't do what is right freely. So the suggestion is that part of the reason there is evil is that God created free creatures, and these free creatures, in fact, did what was wrong. So it wasn't within God's power to make free creatures who can't go wrong or who he guarantees won't go wrong. He made free creatures and they did go wrong. Still, the world on balance, given incarnation and atonement, the great marvelous story of history of God's being willing to suffer and die on our account, means that the world taken overall is a very good world. Probably a better world than it would have been had there been free creatures who never did go wrong. In fact, there is in the Catholic liturgy for the Saturday night Easter Vigil, there is the line, let's see, how does this line go again? O felix culpa, O happy sin, and then it goes on, O happy sin that occasions such a great salvation. That's one way to think about the matter, you know. God wanted to create a really good world. Now, so he had all these other possible worlds he could have created as opposed to the one he did create. Well, why did he pick this one? And what would make one world better than another? What would be, you might call, great-making properties or good-making properties on the parts of possible worlds? Well, there are various things you could propose, a number of people who are enjoying great happiness and the like and so on, and living good lives. But if you think about it, the idea of, what the Christian story says is as great a great-making property as any. Maybe it's the very greatest one. I mean, the idea is here we've got creatures who have turned their backs on God, who rebel against him, who pay no attention to him, turn away from him. And in order to make it possible for them to live eternally in fellowship with him, the first being of the whole universe, God himself, was willing to have his son become human, become incarnate, and die just on our account. Now, that's often said to be the greatest story ever told. I'd be inclined to say it's the greatest story that ever could be told. So you think about all these different possible worlds. What would make, what would be a great-making property? Maybe the greatest great-making property would be its being a world in which incarnation and atonement happen. But of course, any world in which there is incarnation and atonement is a world in which there is sin and evil and the consequent suffering. So if God wanted to have a really good world, if God wanted to have create a really good world, he would create one containing incarnation and atonement, and also then sin and the consequent suffering.